So there's a lot of attention and talk around the world about what's happening in the region when it comes to digital assets. From your perspective as an exchange that is operating in the region, what type of activity are you seeing with clients and digital assets?
All right. So I guess efforts that were put by governments around the Middle East, whether the United Arab Emirates or Kingdom of Bahrain, now we're seeing the results of all of those efforts. So if you think of VARA and its launch in 2023, in 2024, Dubai was the most popular avenue for all of crypto in the Middle East. And obviously licensed entities such as ourselves were able to benefit from all the amazing work that was done by VARA and UAE government. Our volumes are probably 500% up or 400% up from the year before. So 4 or 5x is something that is always positive for any type of company. But I would say that most licensed entities under VARA were able to do so because there is an imbalance of supply and demand. There's so much demand for regulated crypto services, and there was minimal supply. Slowly but surely, we're seeing that also increase.
So, Talal, everybody is waiting the inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump, and we have seen how that is impacting the sentiment in the crypto industry. But let's talk about what happens in the U.S. might reflect on what is happening in the region, whether in terms of regulatory clarity or as well in overall sentiment. To what extent do you think that there is a connection between what happens there and how it reflects on the environment here?
Oh, of course. There's no denying that in the world of finance, whether it's crypto, real estate, interest rates, whatever happens in the US does have an effect on all of the world, especially in countries where we have currency pegged to the dollar, which means that monetary policy will need to match. But in my humble opinion, the US picture was painted as bleak, or the US had not done enough. But it's also worthwhile remembering Coinbase is publicly listed in the US. BlackRock launched the world's most successful financial product in its IBIT ETF. So even though there wasn't good government support, the US was still able to make great progress on the crypto side. So the way that I think of it, obviously I'm very biased towards crypto. So the way that I think of it is we reached trillions in market cap despite government efforts to stop crypto, like Operation Chokehold and other things where the government was trying to pressure crypto. So with President Trump, I believe with his support, we'll even see Bitcoin and crypto reach new levels of success and adoption.
It's interesting how this has such a direct impact on even in the region. And when it comes to the Middle East, so obviously you mentioned UAE and the Kingdom of Bahrain. What are the new markets you see that are up and coming when it comes to crypto adoption and potentially regulatory clarity?
Yeah, so I see crypto, especially regulated crypto, as a part of traditional financial services. So basically, if you think of where are the financial centers in the Middle East, obviously Dubai is going to be 100%, but also Riyadh is as another very big one, or the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia with its very strong purchasing power. I do expect that, especially with how progressive they have been about regulations and progress in general as a country, I think the natural progression is to allow crypto to join. But we also have to remember that governments sometimes have other objectives, like retail investor protection. Like if you think of how much credit card fraud and other types of online scams that happened, I'm sure that governments are always worried, or they want to make sure that they take into consideration these different elements. But if I was going to say who I expect to regulate crypto, and this is just my opinion, it's not based on what CoinMENA is doing, it's on my even own bet assumption. It's don't quote me on it, I guess. Is I believe Saudi Arabia, Kingdom of Jordan, Oman, and I think that every country in the world will eventually have to regulate crypto in one way or another. It is inevitable.
So Talal, let me ask you, everybody and every headline, major headlines about investing in crypto is a positive headline, mostly. In your opinion, what is the biggest risk for a retail investor to invest in crypto in 2025?
The biggest risk is not to own Bitcoin, in my opinion, in 2025. But the second biggest risk, which is a very, very massive one, actually, I'd maybe put it as the first risk. It's not paying attention to counterparty risk. Yeah, for example, if someone that is traditional and they own an like asset management company, they're more likely going to buy IBIT, the BlackRock ETF, because of the way it's custodied, reconciled, insured. There's a specific set of controls that are there for ETFs. So we've seen customers go to high-risk exchanges to try and make a quick buck, but actually those exchanges don't really have good custody setups in place. So using the wrong partner, using non-regulated exchanges, I think is one of the very big risks. From a price standpoint, I think in the short term, dips can happen. If you look at the total M2 money supply globally, it has actually dropped since November. So usually I look at Bitcoin as a sponge for liquidity. The more liquidity there is, the more demand for Bitcoin. So if you look at M2, which is the money supply globally, it's actually dropped since November. So it is possible that we have a drop in price. But in the medium term or even the long term, I believe it is very logical to expect money supply to continue to grow, because otherwise governments cannot meet their obligations. So I guess you asked me about risks, and I somehow turned it into a way to promote Bitcoin. But I'll try to bring myself back to the risks. So risk of price third-party custodial risk is a very big one. Volatility over time is also another. And the final is being too greedy. I've seen customers, or we all see customers that go for low value tokens just because they're being greedy, trying to extract more value out of it. So I think unit bias and trying to make too much money too quick is not the right mentality.
Those are the wise words from Talal Tabbaa for any of our viewers. Don't be too greedy on that. Talal, great to have you on the show with us today at Crypto Weekly.
Are your children prepared for the future of money? Order Decoding Crypto with Henri and Hodler, the #1 new release kids book on Amazon.